the game's quirks aside, let's take a look at the characters. As you currently have them, tell me what we're looking at. Tell me about the characters.
Go ahead. I'll volunteer.
All right.
Well, I'm imagining, because you talked about like these small like clusters of dusters living in like the wastelands and stuff. I was picturing a group of dusters who had this, who were hunters, like used supposed to hunt or whatever they're hunting. I'm not really sure, but I was picturing a
lizards for sure. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, awesome. Right? Yeah. So I was picturing a character who was taught by her parents or whatever, or the people around her, both to like make a bow and make her arrows, and also like to hunt effectively with them. Because I'm picturing like you can't, at least in my image of like these wastes and communities, small clusters of dusters. I can't picture there being like a person whose job it is to just make bows. So I was picturing everyone has to like.
It doesn't have a commerce and production based, lifestyle, right? So,
right.
I mean, in your character's case, the business of how many gold pieces you start with is clearly an abstraction. You never touched a gold piece in your life. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, just someone who knows how to hunt and use a bow, but also who knows a bit about, I think I just got like the astrology skill and some direction knowledge, because I was picturing the wasteland being like difficult to navigate or something. Right. I don't know what the weather would be like. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So, that's basically, and I don't really have like a clear image of the character, because the text kind of tells you to like pick your personality based on your charm. My charm's kind of low, so
it's the same for all the dusters. And I think what is interesting, of course, is that they even have their little hexagon to show you the human, right, as the symmetrical hexagon, and then it shows you how the different races deviate. I want to point out something about that. The duster picture in the core book is wrong for the deviation.
Oh,
it's corrected in the supplement, and dusters are way different than humans.
Okay.
So the duster chart is like really super flat against one side, and it has this big spike for agility and luck.
Yeah.
So it's really not that picture. But anyway, what I'm driving at is that if we think of the way humans socialize and our very characteristic demonstrative manner, the way we're basically primates, and we do all this ridiculous primate expressions and postures and noises and stuff. So I think what they're doing with that low charm with the dusters is that they basically just don't visually signal with their faces.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They don't change the tones of their voice as much as humans. They don't talk. They don't grunt and nod and, say, "Oh, I feel this way about that," in some kind of thing.
Right.
So to humans, that you kind of feel like you're dealing with, the snake just keeps looking at you.
Right.
You're trying to talk, right? You're trying to talk to it, and the snake's like, and you're like, "Fuck, right, creepy." So I think that's.
I was also kind of picturing that dusters would be much more physical and physically expressive when they're in their snake form. Picturing that being a time when they were. So that totally makes sense.
I completely agree with you about that. That as in snake form, their posture or their tension and stuff like that is very easily read by all the other dusters.
Right, because it would have to be, because I assume they can't speak like common or whatever in snake form.
I imagine not.
That was kind of
I figure it'd be good to go full snake in snake form, right? Just
right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I agree. That's cool too. I'm thinking that's where this low charm comes from. It's low charm for humans, basically.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Yeah.
And
totally.
Then, in the case of in the case of the way they look, I mean, this is weird. Role-playing games are a little interesting this way. they're real good on human size, and they're real good on big, and they're real good on hobbits. And I know some of them have this sort of intermediate, sort of short human size, but really in play, I've noticed that never does anything. Right? Nobody notices. And so here it's kind of interesting because the dusters they're really, I mean, they're not tiny, like a hobbit or something. They're not miniaturized humans, but they're very small. I mean, the biggest male duster is like I'm I'm about to say it with English measurements, which is appalling and ridiculous and will make no sense whatsoever. So I have to sort of, maybe 160 centimeters, right?
Yeah.
About. And that's the biggest duster, I mean, in terms of height. And so
that's kind of
yeah,
more or less like 5'5" or something like that.
Yeah, but right, exactly in English measurements. And then if the average is lower than that. So they're not out of the human range, but they are distinctively smallish.
But if you think about it, it's exactly like D&D elves. Nobody pays attention to it, but they are short. The drows, I mean, when you find out that the Dritz the Warden is like, 5'5", people get shocked.
Yeah, of course, because he's the badass who just killed 20 people.
Yeah, but
right. Well, so yeah. So the thing I'm driving at is that here, since they're it's interesting to think of them. Just think of yourself as smaller than a person.
Right.
And your snake length is about your height as a human form. And then your drake form is, it's also like, I forget what, but it's not that much bigger. I mean, when you turn into a drake, you do not turn enormous. You're still, you're bigger, but you're not enormously bigger. So you probably looked up what a drake is. It's very dragon-like. It has no wings. And you guys you're all venomous. Isn't that cool? You're all venomous. You're all venomous. And you can bite people in snake form and, spit poison on them, right? In drake form. So I'm getting the idea. Your character, therefore, is a duster, right, Sam?
Yeah, my character's a duster.
Helma, you also had a duster character, I think.
Yes, and she's actually pretty tall for a duster. Because you roll it, and I ended up with nearly 150. So
rolling for things like height and weight really actually isn't that uncommon from the older games. So anyway, we have this two characters who are out there in a duster tribe. And Helma, tell me about yours. You mentioned a bit about.
I fell for the shamanism, so I made a shaman, or rather. There was something I wrote which nearly got me off that track, and that's she's only 35.
Right, you mentioned that.
So she's barely an adult. Which makes it a little bit difficult to say she has a full skill set and is perfect in it.
Well, yes, but given that you're starting with lower scores anyway, I mean lower skills anyway, that's fine. I mean even at 5.
That stuff is expensive.
Right. Oh,
can you tell it much?
No, I completely agree. So yeah, I mean the idea that you're not like the tribal shaman, with 100 years of experience and all these spirits at your command, that makes sense. So okay, so you've got we've got Sam's hunter duster and we've got your young shaman duster. This is going to be terrible. Sam, you may not realize that in our Primetime Adventures game, Helma's character is named Sam. So I was just wondering, why am I getting a funny feeling every time I say their names? And then I realized that's why. Right.
We'll have to call her by her full name.
No.
That's all.
No, we got it. So, and so was there anything else you wanted to talk about? You said she was kind of craft oriented too, which I think is cool. You're a maker. All the characters are makers you make.
Well,
sense,
I decided there was something I thought that maybe if you're a shaman, you didn't really choose it. It more kind of chooses you.
Right. The shaman says that kid. Right.
Yeah, and she may not be completely comfortable with it because it's those are pretty destructive forces. I chose Terra as a.
No, I agree. You can rip up
it's
the
really
terrain,
destructive. So I thought I would balance it with healing.
Right.
There's a tattoo, right, that gives you healing, and there's herbalism. So I decided she maybe.
This is great.
Could go,
what a great,
could live in the outskirts of the Duster settlement, basically. Right. I like those tents you put on the and have some kind of garden.
Yeah, I mean, and that's cool too. I really like that idea because we can start actually thinking about nifty plants as part of what we're doing.
Yes, because the plants listed in the book are not usable for these surroundings.
Right, I agree. We have to do a little research.
Well, not to maybe if she's really good with her garden, but I'd say nothing.
Yeah, we're not growing eggplants. Right. So the shaman duster and a bit of a gardener, which is cool. I really like that heart tattoo, and the healing, it's kind of neat. So let's see. Then Lorenzo, what thoughts do you have?
I have a dude. Basically, I'm a bit weirder because I'm a Draver, so I'm mostly human. And rolling the dice, that kind of became a team because I'm oddly physical. I got a rather big and strong guy, even if he's not really. He has low endurance, kind of low endurance, and low spirit and low charm. So I think I'm picturing a guy who is very young. He's 20, and so I'm picturing a guy that is kind of I don't want to say insecure, but he's still figuring out his place.
Right.
And scrolling through the skills, the things I do, I was drawn to the blacksmithing, thing, and so I went for that. For the
Did you get enough for the glassmith? Because you have to have a certain level.
Yes, I am. I spent. That's what I have most of my point, kind of, and it's I have that's kind of cheap, and so I'm level 5.
Right.
I'm initiate, but I'm level 5 there. And but I need to be a master, so I'm kind of discovering since I can't have it because I need to get to master, so I will have to spend, if it ever happens, an inordinate amount of point to go there. I decided that instead of it being something I do, it's something I want to discover. I want to learn.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense.
And then I have the things. Well, aside from a bit some things for fighting and stuff like that. What I really liked was when I started reading all the stuff about, the difference between knowing a language, reading a language, and writing a language. So I figured my guy.
I guess we're lucky that there's not different skills for printing versus cursive.
Yeah. But it kind of came together because I was picturing this guy who is kind of obsessed with finding out his roots and what makes him different. And so I pictured him being a blacksmith and somehow getting his hand on books and learning how to read, write, and stuff like that. And I have history, I have mythology, I have monster knowledge, which is the closest thing to biology, I think. I picture my guy, making drawings of the creatures they meet and stuff like that. And
so he isn't really an intellectual or impressive guy when you meet him, but it's kind of like that's what he's that's his passion.
Precisely. He's trying to get, and I kind of picture that he is living in the streets because he probably isn't very social. He has been living in the streets. So I have a bit of athletics. I have lip reading because that's something that never comes up. So I had to take it.
Well, let's find a way, right?